This video is about bleeds. So a bleed for a something that is being printed is a when the edge of a cut line is on a color that isn't white, then that color needs to spill past the bleed for the cut to be able to work. So this is a very common term in printing. It's full bleed. So occasionally there will be stickers that need to be full bleed. And I have kind of the three main scenarios we get for full bleed stickers and how we can do the file prep for these. So here's the first one and one of the most common. We can see the script is already run, the trace script is run, and we have this cut path that goes all the way around the sticker. Okay. We do have a bit of a crevice on this side, a small crevice. This side is about acceptable. That's like pushing the line, pushing the edge of what is acceptable. On this side, though, this is too much, so we're gonna have to round this out. And there's a bunch of ways you could do that. I'm just gonna hit minus, and I'm gonna get rid of these points here. And then a common thing I'll do is I'll take the this tool and I'll break the path right here. So then I can get the corners widget. And then what I'll do is I'll grab that and I'll round it down. So this is a lot more manageable of a shape than before when it went all the way up here. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we want to resize the document because we're going to use a stroke. And strokes are relative to the size of the document. So we're going to resize this artwork to be the correct size. We're going to hit Control Alt R to resize. And now we can see the cut path is selected and the longest side is 3 and the longest side in the file name is 3. So now what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate cut path and then we're going to rename it something else. So we have to rename it something else. It doesn't matter what it is. So that when we run other processes that they aren't applied to this bleed stroke as well. So we're going to put this on top of the art layer. And before we do that, we're going to take I for the eyedropper tool, and we're going to select the color of the bleed that we want. Okay, and I had the cut layer selected and not the stroke layer selected. So we're going to do that again here. All right, and now we drag it on top of the image, and we can see that it's filled. So we want to switch the fill and the stroke. The quick shortcut to do that is just Shift X, and then we're going to bump up the stroke here just until we see it kind of going onto the artwork. So we can see over here it started going onto the artwork. We're going to back it off. So that will be the correct amount of bleed. And then over here you can see that we have kind of a white space that needs to be filled. So we'll just take the pen tool and then we'll draw that shape there. And then it still has that stroke because it's going to be whatever setting we left it on last. And what we'll do is we'll just hit Shift X and that will make it a fill again. All right, so then this file is done. So all we have to do is decide which is the correct export script. So we look here, we don't have a CH or S, so this means this is a standard script, and we're going to Control Alt T. And that's how you do the full bleed when an image doesn't have transparency. So the next option is when an image already has a bleed. When the image already, we can see the subject area that has the cut line that we want, and then we can see outside of that, and we can see that this is going to be the bleed. So let's say you don't have, let's say the script didn't get you a cut path. Let's say this was an M instead of a K. What you would do is you would duplicate the image, and then you do an image trace, right? So we're going to go to image trace, I image trace, and then we are going to there using an image trace is a really good way of getting an outline. And look, we have it right there. And then if we turn ignore white off, then we don't have to delete that white layer. Okay, so that's good. And then we're gonna just expand that object, expand. And then I'm gonna name it cut so I can use the offset script. So the offset script only works on objects that are named cut, all lowercase. So we're gonna do Control Alt O, and then we have an offset, and now we have a path. So that's how you would handle a file like this. So then we're going to look up here and we're going to see there is no S, H, or C. So it's just a standard script. So we can do Control Alt T. All right, and then this last scenario is the easiest one. As soon as this finishes loading. All right, so this one, so like that arrowhead that we showed before didn't have transparency. This one has transparency, and a quick trick is you can hit um, Control Shift D, and you can see if there's transparency or not in Illustrator. So here we have a tight crevice, a small crevice, and then we also have a couple of acute angles. So we'll take care of those first. So we're going to select this node, and we're going to pull out the Live Corners widget. And then we're going to do that on this side. We're going to select that node and pull out the Live Corners widget. And now we're going to close off this crevice with a new path, P for pen tool, new path. And then we're going to hit Control Alt A to combine all paths to cut. So now we have one cut path and it looks pretty good. And then now what we're going to do to get that full bleed is we're going to use the M for marquee tool, and we're going to drag a square all the way behind and around the image generously. Now, it doesn't matter how big you make it, as long as you give it plenty of space. Then we're going to use the eyedropper tool, and we're going to select the color that we're looking for. And then there you have it. It's usually a good idea to drag the rectangle above the cut path just so you can check. The script will still work even if it's above it like this, because the cut path loses its color when we do the export script. Which we'll do now. So if we look here, we don't have a C, H, or S. So this is a standard export. And because it's a standard, we don't have to resize ahead of time because it does it automatically. So we're going to do Control Alt T. And there you go. So those are the three ways the three most common ways to handle a full bleed image.